Next up, climate change may be hitting the maple syrup industry's sweet spot. As Christina Quinn explains, many who have been tapping trees for years say temperature fluctuations are slowing the flow of sap.
Matfield Maple Farm in West Bridgewater has 800 trees, 1,100 taps, and 6 miles of tubing, creating a superhighway of sap. It's the largest maple farm south of Boston, and Rich Forbes has been producing maple syrup right here for about 25 years. But 7 years ago, he says he started noticing a marked difference in his maple sap flow.
We were going through these periods of frozen, periods of warmth, and each one works against us. The trees stop.
Right.
Yeah, they think it's winter or they think it's spring.
Forbes says this stop-and-go behavior makes it much more challenging to predict how much syrup his farm will produce because New England winters are not as long and steady as they used to be. Many maple syrup producers have also noticed lower sugar content in their trees' sap. If there's lower sugar content per gallon, that means they need to harvest more sap to get a gallon of syrup.
Everything is different now. You know, we have this periods of warm, cold, extremes.
Rich Forbes is one of many maple producers across New England who say the erratic weather is wreaking havoc on production. It's sticky business, and the science behind it is just as complex.
It is true that if plants get more stressed, this is not maples in particular, but plants in general from a plant ecology perspective, under more stressful conditions, trees are likely to make more seeds.
More seeds mean less sugar, according to Elizabeth Crone, an ecologist at Tufts University who spent years researching sugar content in maple trees.
They'll invest more of their resources in producing seeds that can go hopefully to somewhere else where the environmental conditions are better, and they'll use fewer of their resources for growing and surviving and defending themselves.
While Massachusetts is a smaller player in the world of maple syrup production than, say, Vermont, it's an important part of the winter tourism economy. It also provides another stream of income for farmers. Rich Forbes says he's concerned that global warming will eventually force maple production out of New England.
I think in the future, it's going to move so far north, the maple belt, that it just won't exist. The belt has been moving for a couple hundred years, steadily north. The future doesn't look good unless we do something to slow it down. My fear is it's going to disappear. This is going to become a thing of the past.
Christina joins me now. You know, you're much more of a science nerd than I am, but I have to say, when I hear that woman talking about how they produce extra seeds when they're stressed so they can blow in a faraway place, I mean, how incredible is that?
It's so cool. They're planning for the future.
And more seeds means less sugar, which was bad news.
Because they're using their resources. They're using their, their starch and sugar to drop seeds, right? And the thing that's really interesting about maple trees is that they're masting trees.
What does that mean? M-A-S-T-I-N-G?
M-A-S-T-I-N-G.
What does that mean?
So, like, oak trees, for example, you'll notice, like, one year there'll be tons of acorns on the ground, and then the following year, you won't be able to find many. So they all kind of coordinate with each other and drop their seeds together.
Totally love that.
The trees talk to each other.
I love that. It speaks to the trees. That was Lorax, wasn't it? Didn't Lorax speak to the trees? Yeah, you have a kid. You should know that. Is this guy being an alarmist, or is the conventional wisdom is this is what's happening further and further north?
Well, in the immediate, sense, everything tends to work out in the wash. I spoke to a lot of maple producers, and he even said, the end of the season will probably even out. But he said it's just the predictability that's just what's so crazy. And I don't think he is being an alarmist. And even Elizabeth Crone said, if New England turns into a climate that's much like Washington, D.C., maple trees won't be able to grow. It'll be too warm.
Yeah, I love, by the fact you bring me a live chicken, you bring me some smelly crap, whatever it was, the smell, and no maple syrup. So thanks, I'll remember that. No, I mean, that's what happens.
But it was delicious.
That's fine. It's good for me. See you, Christina Quinn. Thank you so much.